Hello, hello. Thank you for being here today. So I don't usually record my workshops, but I'm recording this one. I'm almost treating it like a Netflix live. No pressure, but I'm really wanting to share some of the juicy stuff. Meredith's seen a little bit of my latest research through the HR industry. I've been sharing a little bit in those groups. So hopefully there won't be too much repetition for you, Meredith. And I really want to give you some beautiful insights from some of my latest research. Hi, Paula. Nice to see you. I'm really excited to share. And I know that sometimes just hearing a few words can really help to shift the needle. So some of what I say today might resonate with you. Some of what I say might not resonate at all today, but then maybe the weeks and months going forwards, maybe little things might drop in that I've said that speak to you. Welcome to my workshop, How to Find Your People and Feel Connected Whilst Navigating Change. And realistically, who isn't navigating change in one way or another? I'd love to know if there was something in the workshop description or something that really called you to be here in this space with me today. Feel free to unmute or to drop something in the chat if there's something that really spoke to you, just so I can get a sense of, okay, let's definitely be delving into this. I've been researching for my master's for the last 2 years. So there's a lot of different research avenues that I could share. And I will share as much as I possibly can in this session whilst honoring everyone's time and space. So when I say about feel connected, like what's the opposite of connection? Feeling lonely? Or is that the opposite of belonging? And so who does loneliness impact? I would argue that loneliness impacts all of us at some stage in our lives. And that might be at different stages in the same day or the same month or the same year. And some people are really lucky to have found a way, strategies, tools and strategies so that they don't need to feel lonely anymore. And that's incredible. And what I want to do today is to arm you with some strategies that can really help. So when that kind of niggle of loneliness comes over you, you really feel in your power to take some inspired action to feel connected, whether you're navigating change or just in your everyday life. I'll start by just sharing what my mission right now is. And this does kind of change and evolve. And people say, oh, I'm looking for my purpose in life. Your purpose in life will continue to change. So once you find your purpose, it probably won't be the same again in 10 years. But my mission right now is to help people feel connected in their personal and their professional lives. And this isn't something that I plan to be doing. I didn't come to Canada with this agenda, but it just so happens that is where I'm at right now. And in today's session, I will go through the science of connection, what is an inner circle, the main obstacles that stop us from connecting, strategies to deepen relationships and attract new connections, and also a little bit looking at technology, how we can use social media and AI to enhance our connections and not just see it as a bad guy. So I'd just like to bring us into presence together in this space. I invite you, if it's comfortable for you, to just close your eyes. Feel your feet on the ground beneath you. And really feel that life force energy in the earth. And let that life force energy travel up through your body. Bring yourself into presence in this space. We're going to let go of anything that came before. And we're not going to worry about anything that we have on our agenda after this session together. And I'm just going to invite in my guides to help me serve. I have a lot of notes here today, but I'm going to honor every single person that's here today and also anybody that's listening later to hopefully draw out exactly what you need to hear from this session, so I can really serve your greatest interest. So how is our life different when we feel connected? When we know that the people in our life are the people that we want in our life? Personal communications can feel manageable We're not feeling like we're always chasing our tail, that we should be contacting, that we should be sending this note, that we should be doing this. It feels like when we are truly connected, everything feels okay. We almost get that monkey off our shoulder of the shoulds. We frequently hear from people who know what we're up to. They care about what we're up to. They're interested in what we're doing. We're able to be our authentic selves. We don't need to filter everything that we're saying when we have the people around us that are aligned with who we are today. And we're really feeling like the people around us are fueling our soul and supporting us in our growth. And when loneliness does creep up, which it does for me from time to time, but I know now the strategies to deal with it when it does. The idea of everything that I do, all of my work, is for it to be portable. When I work with my clients, I help them to create something called their Communiverse, which is their hybrid circle of people that make their human experience. They can literally visualize themselves in the center of the people who are in their lives. And that really empowers them that when they are navigating change, if they're moving location or moving city like Jess, they know that 75% of the people, or even more, are still going to go with them on that journey. Yes, you're going to meet new people along your path. Amazing. And you want to have room for that to happen. But essentially, most of the people in your lives don't live next door to you, don't live down the road from you, because they're close friends, they're family, they're people that are going to be in your life regardless of distance. We are not trees. Amazing, Jess. Yes. So really putting some structure and really feeling like these people are in your life. So I guess the question is how to find your people. Well, the good news is most of them are already there. How to find your people? Most of them you've already met, or maybe they're friends of friends. So they're already in your wider orbit. So what we really need to work out is who are you becoming today? Because once we figure that out, who are you becoming today, then you can start to think about who are the people in my wider orbit who are aligned with the version of me that I am today. And then we can start calling them in and taking some inspired action. Brené Brown says, true belonging doesn't require us to change who we are. It requires us to be who we are. So really leaning into being our most authentic self magnetizes the people that you want in your life to be in your life.
Shelley, can you repeat that quote again, love?
True belonging doesn't require us to change who we are. It requires us to be who we are. So I'm just going to give you a little bit about my story to really help you to know why I'm here today and why I feel like I can speak to this really important topic. So back in 2008, my freelance career began, which was really liberating and empowering because I got to choose the PR agencies that I would work with. But it also meant that I was often one foot in, one foot out. I would feel empowered to leave at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I wouldn't always be invited to team building days. So it's like I wasn't always part of the fabric. So actually, when I was starting this work, I was thinking that my journey with loneliness only really began like during COVID or when I moved to Canada and we were very isolated. But actually, as I've been doing this work, I'm starting to understand that my journey with loneliness goes much further back. One of my friends that I've been friends with for a very long time probably would surprise you because I'm always someone that had a lot of people around me. I had a lot of friends from school. I had a lot of friends from university. And I think that the first time was really when I lived with a boyfriend on the other side of London to the rest of my friends. And if you're familiar with London, everything is like an hour away. So wherever you are, it's an hour to get there. And he would at the weekend, he liked to go out and party. So I was on my own a lot more than I'd ever been, and freelancing as well. So I didn't necessarily have that community of work colleagues that you have when you've been at a company for a long time. A decade later, and I'd run my own PR agency for 5 years, and I took a job for a multinational doing their internal communications. I lived in a different country, and I started getting really curious about the science of happiness. And I proposed delivering some sessions on this to my organization. They thought it sounded incredibly fluffy. But anyway, I started finding some people whilst talking about the science of happiness. And it turned out that there were other people that were really interested in employee happiness, well-being. So we set up an employee resource group at my organization, which was really well received. And this is something I'd really encourage. If you're really curious about something, bring it into your workplace. And as soon as you start talking about it, then you'll start to find other people that share your curiosity. We ended up rolling it out across our European offices. And as soon as the pandemic hit, I had a lot more interest from different departments saying, oh, you've been studying the science of happiness. Could we bring that into the organization? Now everyone was working from home and really needed that burst of happiness. I did. I started bringing this in. And obviously, lockdown was a challenging time for all of us. About 18 months into my pandemic journey, we then moved to Canada. So just as life was getting back to normal, we uprooted, moved country, left our support system behind us with 2 young children. And I started a mid-career master's at Royal Roads, which was an incredible opportunity to learn. And I'll share a little about my learnings with you. I might just interject with a little slide here. So when I really started to delve into loneliness and belonging, I started to realize that loneliness and belonging was on a continuum. So loneliness is when you're feeling a gap between what your social needs are and what your reality is. And then belonging is when you're really feeling accepted and respected for being your authentic self. So I was just thinking about different scenarios in my life when I do feel that niggle of loneliness. And then when I'm feeling that sense of belonging. So when I thought about this and I thought about it on a continuum, I'm like, this is revolutionary. Of course, it's on a continuum. But then as I continue with my research journey, I come to this. And it's, it's not a continuum. It's a quadrant. And this began making sense. So I guess it's like any science. Everything feels like fact until you dig deeper. And I'm still learning. And I'm excited to learn and share. But once I saw this, I really understood, because I can see that in my journey coming to Canada, I was socially distressed. I had incredible friends and family all around the world, but I felt very disconnected to all of them. And then as I worked through this and did a lot of inner work, I kind of shifted up to socially searching. So I started to know what I was looking for and started to learn how to put myself out there in a way that I could start attracting my kind of people into my life. And I feel incredibly blessed that now I have taken the inspired action that was absolutely necessary living in a new place to get to socially fulfilled, which is the nirvana. But I know other people who have gone on a similar journey and they've started in the socially indifferent quadrant and they would still be there. So they're not feeling that yearning for community that others of us, and I imagine if you're here today, you probably do feel from time to time.
Shelley, what's an example of D?
Socially indifferent, just not feeling like you need people in. So you're maybe alone, but you're not feeling lonely.
Yeah, got you. Thank you.
I'll give an example. After doing a lot of this research, then I came across someone called Dr. Robin Dunbar, and he had come up with a theory called Dunbar's number, which is based on a lot of research. He's an anthropologist, and so he'd been looking at primates and then looking at human communities around the world and really seeing how many people our brains have the capacity for in our lives. And the biggest number was 150 people that we are able to hold consciousness of. Those would be in your biggest circles, there would be your extended family, friends, different communities that you've been part of, maybe you dip into from time to time. But according to Robin Dunbar, it's really your innermost circle of 12 to 15 people that have a significant impact in your health and happiness. So that really sparked my interest once I got to learn that there is science behind connection. And that if we focus our energy on nurturing our innermost circles, then that is going to help us to belong and rise. So I'll just share a little bit more about my journey before we move into the obstacles and the strategies. One of the stats that I've come across about loneliness is that a third of employees in the UK feel lonely at work and have never told anybody. I just thought how staggering that is, because when I started talking about my journey, I almost felt like I was an anomaly. But once you start hearing that, you're like, this is very normal. And I really feel like more people need to be talking about it, because that makes us feel less alone. So last year, as part of my journey, yearning for community, I had the opportunity to move into an eco village. My family and I moved in there for 4 months and really felt into what it is to be part of a physical community. It wasn't an easy experience, but it was a huge learning journey, one that I'm glad that I've done, and one that I have no interest to repeat anytime soon. But incredible to feel how it is to be in community and some of the rituals that help communities to feel connected. And that is one of the big things that I've come across in my research. The regularity really matters, but also reciprocal vulnerability matters as well. So if we are asking questions of others, we need to be willing to share that of ourselves. And in my experience of moving to a new place, being willing to go first, to share, to peel back a layer of the onion, inspires others to follow suit. If you are making a new acquaintance and you want to build trust, be willing to share a piece of yourself. Don't go too deep too quickly. And in fact, I've been toying with some relationship deepening games. There's one called 39 Questions from a professor named Arthur Aaron. And it's a really cool game. You go into stages of 15 minutes per stage one. You're kind of peeling back one layer of the onion, not very deep, quite top line questions. And you ask each other the same question. So you're only asking someone else a question that you're willing to share yourself. And then the bell rings and you go to stage 2, and that's going a level deeper again, and then level 3, and you go a stage deeper. But my experience of this game is it's much more comfortable to do with people that you already know. I tried it with someone who I'd met around the TEDx. We went for a coffee and I invited her to play it with me. But actually, it almost felt like we went too deep, too quick, and it didn't feel necessary. So in my experience of that game, if you're playing it with a new acquaintance, maybe just do level 1, or maybe go to level 2, but you don't need to go to level 3 in a first interaction. Or maybe say, should we do level 1 when we first meet and level 2 next time and level 3 the third time, if indeed you feel that connection with them and you want to go that level deeper. But don't feel like you need to share your whole life story as soon as you meet someone. So we've gone on to a little bit of the science of connection. I wonder how many of you really feel like you know who is in your circles. So I said the biggest circle is like 150 people. And then we've got our next circle is about 35 people. So these are the people that you would hear from time to time. They're supporting you, whether that's physically or digitally, and the communities that you are actively engaged with. So some of these would be your professional communities, your colleagues, and some of these would be your personal communities, maybe your social clubs or sports clubs, these kind of things. And then we go that level deeper again. So that's your 12 to 15 people. And these 12 to 15 people in your inner circle, according to Robin Dunbar, you should be investing about 60% of your personal time in this circle. And this is part of the thing, I think, with modern technology, there are so many people that we could be supporting, that could be giving our love to. I mean, if we wished all of our Facebook friends happy birthday, if we wished all of our LinkedIn connections a congratulations every time they got a new role, we are diluting our energy so much. So if we do this work to recognize who is in our 12 to 15, and we really give these people some undivided support and attention and actively look them up. So just delving into how we can utilize social media and AI. Like once we know who's in this innermost hub for ourselves, actively supporting these people, searching for them on the social media platforms, asking them what social media platforms they're on. Do we even know? Are we missing some of the people that are really important to us? Maybe they're on a channel that we didn't even know, or we haven't even got their handle. It's like doing this work to say, I would love to support you and follow you, so that, you know, this always comes two ways. So that's a little bit on the science of connection. So the obstacles. What stops us from connecting with people?
Confidence.
Yeah.
Fear of being rejected.
Yeah, fear of rejection. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And the reality is that we make up stories. We see that other people are doing amazing things on social media, and it makes us feel like we're not where they are. And then, in my experience, when you take the inspired action and then have a coffee chat with these people, they are having an experience that is quite different to that which is shared on social media. The impression that we have of people is very different to the life they lead. And it is a mindset shift to reach out without expectation. But if we really want to find our people and feel connected, we have to be willing to take some inspired action. And it's interesting because the programs that I've been in terms of building your business, it's like you're thinking about sales and you're thinking about numbers. And that makes me feel kind of icky. Like I'm not a saleswoman. It doesn't make me feel good. But in terms of personal reach outs, I can do that. And really starting to think about, I guess, implementing some communication strategies and sales strategies to our personal communications, because not everyone's going to stick. But if we're really honoring, if someone's coming up in our mind, then why not reach out to them? If they're a thought, then maybe that's dropping in for a reason, and listen to that clue that we've been offered. So don't take what the vision that you have of people on social media as the life they are leading. And if they are dropping in, take some inspired action and expect that they probably won't respond. But also imagine yourself as the recipient. Maybe you want to send them a text. Maybe you want to send them an audio note, which can sometimes feel very vulnerable, particularly if it's not someone that you've connected with for a long time. But put yourself in their shoes. If you received an audio note from that person, even if you've not spoken to them for years, Imagine how that would feel to receive it, to say, hey, I was just thinking of you and just thought I'd drop in and say hello. We haven't connected for so long. And I was just thinking how wonderful it would be to hear your voice. So I thought I'd just leave you a little audio note, or maybe it's a message or something. But just imagining yourself as the recipient really changes to the way that we can feel about sending something. And in my world, and I'm sure everyone feels quite different, but I almost see that as a gift. If someone's willing to share an audio note or a message or a video, but it does feel like a gift. It's there, they've given me a piece of themselves, and how precious that is. If I have, when it's my birthday or something, I really don't need for physical gifts, but a gift of someone's time and thought is so precious to me. So what other obstacles stop us from connecting?
Time.
Yeah. And Shivam says a lack of reciprocation. Yes. Yes. I hear that. I hear that. And as someone that instigates quite a lot, and I've really experienced that here in Canada. I remember the first year we were here and we would host some festive afternoon teas, which were lovely. And then quite a lot went on over Christmas and the New Year. I had some family grief to deal with. So I stopped putting invitations out there. And as soon as I did, life just got quiet. And all of those people that had attended the afternoon teas didn't necessarily reciprocate with invitations. So I totally get that. But I guess when we are navigating change, whether that's moving location, changing jobs, I guess the acceptance is that we do need to continue taking inspired action. And maybe the people that we've been instigating events with, maybe they aren't our people, or maybe the time isn't right for them. Maybe their circles are full. And that's really something that I've experienced since being here. I've met some really amazing people when I first arrived. And I thought, yeah, they're going to be my best friends. And then you realize their lives are really full. And it's not that they didn't like me or they didn't want to spend time with me, but they already had their people, and that's okay. So finding your people when navigating change, I guess it's also finding the people who are also navigating change, who are at the same stage. Maybe they've also recently moved, maybe they've also recently changed jobs, or maybe they're also on their spiritual journey, and the people who were in their circles aren't quite the right people to be able to openly talk with authenticity about what is going on for them. Social media is a big obstacle. One of the stats I found is that I think it was a US stat that people are spending on average 3 hours a day on social media in comparison to an average of 27 minutes a day spending time in physical proximity with friends.
Wow.
Huge disparity. So we feel like we need to connect. We go onto social media, we start scrolling, we forgot what we even went on there for because we're distracted with whatever it is, and then we put it down. We probably don't feel elevated, but that feeling that we had that we need to connect has passed. So then we're not taking the inspired action to reach out with the people in our circles because we haven't got the time anymore, which you said was one of the obstacles. The time's gone, the time's been eaten up. Self-care is another big reason. Taking time to look after ourselves, because then that feeling of confidence, when we're looking after ourselves, then we feel empowered to be reaching out. And trust, we mentioned before, building trust, then we feel in our power to reach out. And the things about making up stories is thinking, oh, they already have a full life. They already have all their friends. They haven't got space for me. So whilst that is true in some ways, in some places, it's not necessarily true of everybody. So being brave to reach out anyway, if you're feeling the call, and really just listening to your internal wisdom in that. One of the things that's just dropping in that Robin Dunbar said to me in a way of making new friends, it's much easier if they are friends of friends. If you have a mutual connection or if there's something there already, then your ability to become good friends can be a lot faster. So it takes a certain amount of hours to really become good friends. But if you already have a connection, that can really serve you to be a lot faster. So follow your impulses, and I would encourage you to take that inspired action. Is there any questions? Okay. So some strategies, strategies to deepen relationships and attract authentic connections. The first one is getting to know yourself. So really making time. I've used the term dating yourself quite a bit, but really making time to get to know yourself, not just having time alone, watching your favorite Netflix show, but consciously taking the time to date yourself. Choose your favorite meal, get your favorite drink, and sit down and consciously ask yourself the questions that you would love to be asked, or that you would want to add a new friend who you thought, wow, they could be like a really close friend. What would you want to know about them? What would spark your curiosity about them? And ask yourself questions and give yourself time to answer. And I often say this when I'm doing my podcasts. I'll often say, if I ask you a question and something doesn't immediately come, allow the pause. If it's a podcast, we can always edit out the pause. But the same goes when you're dating yourself, when you're getting to know yourself again. Allow the pause. And it might be when you're out in nature and you just ask yourself questions. And the answer probably isn't going to drop in right away. Maybe it'll be that day, maybe it'll be the following day. But asking yourself the kind of questions that you would want to know from a new partner, a new friend, can help you to learn about yourself and then be able to project yourself in a way that you are and start embodying the version of you that you are. Because being the version of you that you are is going to attract the kind of people that you want in your life to be attracted to you. And also doing the work to remember earlier versions of yourself, to accept who you were and then who you've become. So once we've done the work to really get to know ourselves and make this a regular practice. I so hear you, Paula. You're changing so much and you're like, who am I?
Yeah, it's a tricky thing to do. I hear what you're saying, really know yourself, but you know what, when you're in a place of change, you actually can sometimes not know yourself. You know what you used to do, you know what you used to like, but you're not really certain where you are. It's as if there's little forks in the road, and I'm doing deep inner work, and it's tricky. And that's where I find some of my friendships are sort of dissipating, because where I'm at and where they're at is lovely and as wonderful as they are, where the sands are shifting, right? So yeah, it's tricky things.
Or even thinking about who you were, recognizing that, and then recognizing if that's not you anymore, and then realizing there's a space. Okay, step into that.
Yeah.
One of the pieces that I do in module 1 is to think about the individuals that you admire. So maybe the academics or the artists and performers, the music that you love, the films that you love, and starting to follow those people more. and to follow your curiosity more. Because
Mhm.
not only do the individuals who are in our life shape who we become, but our influences shape who we become as well. So recognizing the people that we really believe in, the people that we want to be listening to more, and, you know, maybe even plotting them in your circles
Mhm. Mhm.
so that they can be a bit more in your consciousness whilst we are discovering the version of ourselves that we are becoming. And it is an evolution. I think this is our journey. This is our path to find out who we are. We don't need to find out right away. And maybe it'll be when we're in our 90s and we'll be like, oh, that's who I am, a vet. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And understanding that people are going to come and go in our lives. And just because you're on different trajectories right now doesn't mean that they won't play a big part in our future lives. But right now you need to give each other space to grow and to lean into our authenticity. And then maybe the paths will align later on. And that was a really big learning from living at the eco village. I realized how it was to be in community. I learned a lot about that, but I really felt unable to be my authentic self by the end. And that didn't feel a good place to be, particularly when you're sharing like 13 meals a week with these people. So it really made me understand that it's not just the numbers that are important and having these people in our lives, but having people that we are able to express ourselves authentically with. That's what really matters. So the second strategy, once we got to know ourselves a little bit deeper, understanding that this is a continual process, is to remember who your people are. An extension of Robin Dunbar's model. I like to use the metaphor of imagine yourself as a driver on a minibus, and you've only got 12 to 15 seats on this bus at any one time. You've obviously got people surrounding that, but in your inner hub, you've got very limited number of seats. So really just visualizing who's on your bus today, knowing that you are in your power to invite people to come on board. And maybe they have capacity and they're able to come on board right now. Maybe they haven't got capacity, they're off somewhere else doing their own thing, and just understanding that down the line, they might want to come on board again. So keeping that open, like we were saying before about managing expectations. If people still coming onto your mind, feel like you can send another invitation. And I think a lot of people, they'll send a message, they don't get a response, and then they'll just wait and wait. Those people, their circles might be really full, and you might need to send 2 or 3 messages before they really start to go, oh man, I really want to reply to that person, or the time is right for me to reply to that person right now. So really starting to think about who's on your bus today. And as part of Robin Dunbar's research, he did say that when he was asking people to populate their 150, he got some feedback. People were quite cross with him because it was quite a lot of work to think about all the people. I've done it in my own life over these last 4 or 5 months, and it has been a real process. But I did ask Robin Dunbar when I interviewed him, where should people start on this? And he said, start with your 12 to 15. Start with that inner hub. So I will send something to you, but if you have a piece of paper, just draw 3 circles and start to think about who's in your inner hub right now. And as names drop in, maybe just think about where do they fit? Where are they right now? And then really see where the gaps are. So the different circles I name, so I have your inner hub, and then I have your supporters, and then I have your roots. So yeah, start to think about who your people are and really ask questions. If you're putting them in your inner hub, do they fuel your soul? Do you have these like soul stirring conversations that you might need to have? Or are they supporting your growth? Are you supporting each other's growth? How could you support them more? How could you serve the people who are in your life? Because one of the studies that I looked at is that neededness is a really important part of belonging. As a species, we need to feel needed. So remember who your people are, and then really envisage them in your circles. And in my experience, just having this visual and putting ourselves in the center of this, even if you're not seeing people, even if you're not hearing from people, knowing that your people are there is really powerful. And I'm not someone that needs a lot of connection to feel connected, especially now that I've done this work. It's like I can see all the people who are in my life, and it feels like they're in my life now. One of the things that I did ask Robin Dunbar was about regularity, and thinking about that our brains can only hold 150 people in our consciousness, and thinking about, well, how long before people slip out of our consciousness. And he suggested it can be around 3 years before nothing needs to occur, but people will just drop out of your consciousness if you're not interacting in that time. Of course, you're going to have extended family members that you'll gather every 5 or 10 years and they'll still be part of your wider orbit. But otherwise, if it's maybe a former colleague or a friend that you haven't got any other connections with, just thinking about, you've got about 3 years before you'll come out of each other's consciousness. And that's not to say you might not come back in, but you might not hear from them. So the third strategy to deepen relationships and attract authentic connection, it's really about being courageous and knowing that what you seek also seeks you, said Rumi. And really being brave to know that, like the stat that I said before, 1/3 of employees in the UK are feeling lonely at work and have never told anyone. If you're feeling disconnected in any part of your life, just know that other people are really feeling that as well. You are not alone in this. And how beautiful it is to hear from people, to have that personal interaction. Personal communication is hard. And as part of the work that I do with my clients, I do give them homework to set up coffee chats, to set up group events. And it's challenging, which is why it can be helpful to have a coach to work you through that, to have some accountability, to bring those groups together. But as someone that worked in the communications industry for many years, putting an invitation out for a group gathering can feel vulnerable, which is kind of crazy. It's crazy that feels vulnerable because it's an invitation. And who doesn't like to receive an invitation? Even if you can't go, it's nice to receive an invitation. Being courageous to visualize, okay, once you've done a bit of mapping, when you start thinking about the different community groups in there, start to think about how would it feel to bring that group together again, whether that's in a physical or a digital environment. And then if we start doing this in a group context, then you can start to feel into who are the people within that group that I really felt that connection with, that maybe they could be someone that I could have one-to-ones with. And maybe they might start moving from the outer circles to your inner circles. So I would really encourage you to be courageous and start being the instigator that you wish other people were. Okay, so using social media and AI to enhance meaningful connections. I think there's a lot of negativity around social media and distrust around where AI is going. So I would encourage you to just try and shift to the positive and just think, how can these tools help us? How can they serve us? And what I try and do when I'm having a group gathering particularly is to think who's going to be coming and then look them up. So rather than going on to LinkedIn or Facebook and just listening to the algorithm, seeing what everyone's saying, actually being a bit more specific and looking people up and seeing if they've been sharing anything recently. Because the power of when you have a live interaction with someone and you know something about them, you've actually listened to something that they've shared, that can be really powerful. That can be really meaningful. I think that's one of the latest love languages that's been suggested, that when people know something of you or they remember something of you, something really small, might be like how you have your tea, just little things like that can really help to build that trust unconsciously. So how can social media help us? How can AI help us? Something that I have mentioned when I first brought together a group of friends, I was living at the Eco Village, and there was a group of women that I'd studied with in Australia 20 years ago. And I had had this message from Source to bring us together in a group. And I wanted to. We have remained connected through kind of WhatsApp and email from time to time, but we'd never come together as a group for a live event since we left Melbourne all those years ago. So I had this calling to bring us together, and I reached out and I did make the invitation. And out of 8, 5 of them came to that first event. And it was amazing. We did it on Zoom and it felt like we were friends. We've all gone off in our different directions, but ultimately we are friends. We had that really deep shared experience many years ago, and it felt incredible. And we've had 3 or 4 of those together since, with various combinations of attendees. But I do think that I'm blessed to have had the communications background that I have. So for me, writing that invitation, even though it felt vulnerable, I was still able to do it. Whereas I wonder for other people if that might just be a hurdle, that even though they have the desire and they have the thought to bring groups together, just getting from that thought to instigating something might just be an obstacle they're not able to get past. So what I'm wondering is if AI can help with this. I welcome challenges to this concept, but just putting in, what do I say? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So putting in the context, like I know Paula studied in the UK for a stint. So putting in a little bit about the story, studied in the UK with these individuals. We had this life-changing journey together. I'd love to bring them together for a live event. Can you suggest an opening? How could I frame this? And using it as a tool, as a really useful tool to make that live event happen. Something else that I have been toying with over the last couple of years is different metaverse platforms. So I have held events in various metaverse worlds, and I must say that particularly for gatherings where I'm not necessarily facilitating, but we're just having group conversation in circles, metaverse platforms feel really good. It definitely has the feeling that you are in proximity with people in a way that Zoom doesn't quite give. And there's definitely a piece in that about, it's like you have avatars in these metaverse worlds, and that might be a little avatar of your face, or it can be an avatar, but it has noise proximity. So if I move my avatar closer to you, then I hear you. And if I move my avatar further away, then I don't hear the conversation at all. So it gives the feeling of being in a physical space, because you can send someone a DM and say, hey, do you want to come for one-to-one? And you can move location and have that really natural conversation and then shift back to the group environment. I'm quite bullish on the metaverse really helping us to feel connected, especially when we're living away from a lot of our friends and family, or moving locations, or working remotely, and we're not around our work colleagues, I do see the metaverse as really opening up a lot of opportunities to help us feel connected. I do feel like live interaction is the answer to helping us feel connected. Personally, I launched my podcast in the spring, and I find the days where I record a podcast, whether I'm guesting or whether I'm hosting, I feel a buzz for the rest of the day because I've had that really deep connection, deep conversations with people. So once we do that work to figure out who is in our hub, really thinking about how much space do we have for live interaction, and then inviting that into our lives. So I'm coming towards the end of my presentation here. The last couple of years have been a huge roller coaster for me in my journey. I didn't know what I came here to do. I didn't know that this would become my purpose, to help people feel connected, but I'm really feeling like it is. I hope that some of what I've said has resonated today. If you've got any questions, by all means, pop it in the chat or unmute yourself. I really believe if you imagine Maslow's hierarchy of needs leading up to self-actualization, I really feel like feeling connected is really key for that. Feeling connected with people that we can be our authentic selves with really can help us shift up towards self-actualization, to help us realize what we are here to be doing. If you want to delve deeper into this work, I would love to. I'll be starting my new program in the new year, which is a 90-day program to really help you to build out your Communiverse, to help you feel connected, to really know who the people are in your life. And this will continue to evolve, and it will be something that you can take forwards wherever you go in your life. I welcome you to book a call with me, and in that call I can give you a bit of an overview of my programs, but I'll also see if there's one thing that I can really help you to shift forward with going into the new year. I'll be really happy to just work you through that as my gift to you to wrap up 2023. I have quite a big vision for Communiverse. I really see it as a solution to the loneliness crisis. I'll be delving even deeper into this in my thesis and scientifically testing the effectiveness of this program to help people make the shift from loneliness to belonging. And I am looking for co-designers to work with me in the evolution of this. So if you are feeling passionate about this work and you would like to have a discussion about that, then I would love to speak to you about that as well. You're welcome, Yvette. Thank you for being here, my love.
I think it's just really inspiring to hear your story and how you're putting it into practice. And I think all the science and stuff behind it is also really clever, because I don't do a lot of science work, and it's actually really good to hear about how we as humans connect and what we actually need to do that, because sometimes you just get so caught away with life and it blows away, and all of a sudden you blink and a year's gone and you feel just as disconnected as last year, and you're wondering how on earth that's happened. And I think just sometimes taking a little bit of time to really think about the key important people and investing in them more than trying to keep in touch with the 150 all the time. That's what I would probably typically do, and then wonder why I don't get those strong connections, even though I know I've got them, but with my core two handfuls. But yeah, I think that's really important, because I think just being okay with the fact that there are layers of friendships and people do come and go, but where you are right now is, the people, like you say, that fuels your soul and your heart. I really loved that term, because that is so important. I'm definitely an emotional person and I need that fueling, but I have to go and hunt it. I can't expect people just to fall in and be checking on me all the time, because they have things going on as well. And I think just yeah, looking more towards those people that feel the soul. That's one of my big lines that I took away. I will start focusing more on that and that core sort of 12, which I think I've pretty much got. I was writing them down as you were speaking. Yeah, really important. And I also love the voice notes. I know you like to do those as well. And I'm a very voice note person, and some people just aren't. But when you do find out how people like to communicate and you do it in the way that they like, sometimes you find that then just eases the barrier. And then eventually sometimes they do want to do a voice note, or they do want to do a video, which then fuels my soul. It's been really good to hear. And thank you so much for the time, Shelley. It was really good to hear how you've been moving the needle yourself the last few years. It's great to see.
That's it. Like I've created the program that I myself needed, and I'm still working at it. Like I completed my program in my own life a month ago. So today is the new moon, and it was coincidental that I booked this session today, or maybe it wasn't, but I completed my program in my own life last new moon. And it was interesting because I recorded a video to say, I've completed my program in my own life, and now I know who is in my life. I'm going to tell them, and I'm not proposing that my clients necessarily tell the people who are there, but for me, because it's a social experiment, I'm going to. I put that video out there. Do you think I told the people who are in my life that they are there?
No.
I didn't. So it was like I completed it, and then it was almost like when you birth something, it was almost like I needed to actually take the time to allow that to sink in. And I also had other things going on, like I had the last module in my master's to complete. So I think I'm ready now, a month later, I'm now ready to say, look, I want you to be a big part of my life. And I want to know how I can support you in that. And I think that's a really big thing, letting them know that you're there to support whatever they're up to. And then they're going to want to support you when they themselves feel supported. How full or vacant is your own bus right now? Oh, good question. It is beautifully, I would say beautifully full, but not full. There's still space. And I like to leave a bit of space to allow, especially living in a different country, I'm really enjoying the serendipitous of opportunities that are presented to me. But oh my goodness, my bus is in such a better place than it was this time last year. And I'm really grateful for the process that I've gone on, because I have this hybrid circle of people that make my human experience. I know that if we uprooted in the next year and moved somewhere else, I would never feel the level of loneliness that I felt during the pandemic or moving to Canada. I will never feel that again, because I can take 75% of this with me wherever I go. Thank you for the question. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your presence today.
Thank you so much. Sending you so much love. That was amazing.
Sending you love. And if you want to know anything more about my Communiverse or my programs, then please book in a discovery call and we can just see how I can serve you. Thank you all.